The worst part wasn't that my stepmother killed my baby brother. The worst part was that she smiled while doing it, and no one believed me. I was 11 when my father brought her home. Her name was Aleba. She was young, quiet, and always dressed in bright wrappers. She never raised her voice, never hit anyone. People in the village said my father was lucky. But I knew something was wrong the day she moved in. She stared at me too long. Not with anger, just too long. Like she was counting something. After my mother died, it was just me and my baby brother, Samuel. He was 2. A soft, sweet child. Always laughing. Always holding on to my wrapper like a little goat. I promised my mother at her grave that I would protect him. I tried. Aleba never touched Samuel in front of others. But when my father wasn't around, she changed. Not loud, not angry, just cold. She would whisper things to him. Things I couldn't hear. And every time she did, Samuel would cry at night. Not just crying, screaming. Like something was pinching him inside. One night, I got up and walked to the corner of our small room. That's where his mouth was. I bent to lift him. And I saw it. Ants. Hundreds of them. On his legs, his belly, crawling in his ears, in his nose. He was too weak to brush them off. I screamed. Woke the whole compound. My father ran in, shouting. He pulled Samuel up and started brushing the ants away. Aleba was behind him, pretending to panic. But she wasn't even helping. I saw her smile. Just for a second. Then it vanished. Samuel was sick for days. He stopped laughing. Stopped moving much. He just lay there, breathing light like paper. I told my father it was Aleba. He slapped me. Said I was wicked for saying that. That Aleba had been good to us. That I was jealous. He didn't look at me for 2 days. That was the beginning. Over the next few weeks, food started going missing from my plate. Water from my cup started tasting bitter. Sometimes, I woke up with bruises on my arm and no memory of how they got there. Once, I caught her standing over me while I slept. Just standing. Not moving. I opened my eyes and saw her, and she didn't even flinch. Just turned and walked away. Then Samuel started talking in his sleep. Just one word. Over and over. Ants. My father said it was nonsense. A child's dream. He said Aleba was expecting a baby, and we should all be happy. Happy. But I knew what was coming. A week before the new baby was due, Aleba took us to the farm. Just her, me, and Samuel. My father had traveled to Lagos for business. There was no one else. She said we were going to gather cassava. But she didn't bring a basket. She didn't bring water. She walked deep into the bush, Samuel in one hand, a machete in the other. I followed, scared to leave him alone. Then she stopped. There was a big anthill ahead. One of those giant ones that looks like a termite castle. Flies buzzing around it. Hot sun above. She looked at me. And said something I never forget. He's not mine. And the land would take him back. Then she set him down next to the anthill. And walked away. Samuel started crying. I ran to pick him up, but the ants were already coming out. Crawling fast. Not like normal ants. These were angry, fast, thick. They stung. They got on my legs, arms, neck. I screamed, picked him up, and ran. I didn't stop running until I reached the village square. Samuel was barely breathing. His skin was red and swollen. Eyes shut tight. He never opened them again. They buried Samuel the next day. The elders said it was a fever. Maybe he had eaten something bad. Maybe it was the sun. I told them about the ants, about the anthill, about what Aleba said. They didn't believe me. Why would a woman hurt a child? One of them asked. Especially one she's been caring for. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just looked at my father. He looked away. That's when I knew he didn't believe me either. Or maybe he did, but didn't want to believe it. Maybe it was easier to think I was lying than to admit he brought evil into our home. After that, everything changed. Alebe gave birth to a baby girl. My father named her Ada. She was a quiet baby, always looking around like she understood too much. Aleba never let me carry her. Never let me come close. She said I was bad luck. I had to eat in the back of the house, sleep on the floor by the door, sweep the compound twice a day. If I missed a single leaf, she would pour cold water on me at night. Once, she left me in the rain for hours, pretending she forgot I was outside. I started losing weight. My hair fell out in patches. I spoke less and less. And I stopped dreaming. Until one night, I saw Samuel again. He stood at the foot of my mat, still 2 years old, but not swollen anymore. His skin was smooth, eyes wide. He didn't speak. He just pointed to the window. I sat up. The room was dark. The window was open. A breeze moved the curtain. I got up and walked to it. Outside, near the tree in the compound, was Aleba. She stood barefoot, holding something in her hand. A white cloth. She was whispering. Then she bent down and buried the cloth under the tree. I didn't sleep again that night. The next day, I waited for her to leave the house. Then I went to the tree with a small stick. I dug up the spot. There was no cloth. There were bones. Small bones. Tied with red string, stained black at the tips. They smelled like iron. I didn't know what to do. So I left them there and covered the hole. Later, Aleba looked at me for a long time. She didn't say anything. But that night, my pillow was full of ants. Not regular ones, big, red ones. My neck was covered in bites. My arms too. When I screamed, she ran into the room with a bowl of water. She acted like she was saving me. My father said I must have slept near sugar. He never asked why only my pillow had ants. After that, I started planning. I stopped talking. Stopped crying. I just watched. I watched how she walked into the bush alone every 3 days. I saw her carrying palm oil, feathers, sometimes a live chicken. Always near the same tree. The same spot Samuel pointed at in my dream. I knew it wasn't over. I knew she wasn't done. One evening, I followed her. She didn't notice. She walked deep into the bush, past the cassava fields, until she reached the tree. She knelt down and began to chant softly. Her hands moved slowly, placing small bundles wrapped in leaves around the tree roots. The air felt heavy. The birds stopped singing. The wind hushed. She stood up and took something from her pocket, a small, dark stone. She held it up to the sky and whispered a prayer. Then, she threw the stone into the fire pit near the tree. The flames flared up bright blue for a moment and then died out. I stayed hidden, watching her. When she finally left, I crept closer. I could see the bundles better now. Inside, I saw bones like the ones under the tree in the compound. And feathers. I ran back home as fast as I could. That night, I tried to tell my father again. I saw her, I said. I saw what she's doing. He looked tired. Older than before. He rubbed his forehead and said, "Enough, Ao. You're a child. You don't understand." I didn't argue. I just waited. Days passed. Aleba got worse. She stopped smiling. Her skin looked pale, and her eyes sunken. She didn't eat much. One morning, I heard shouting. I ran outside. Aleba was on the ground, shaking, her eyes rolled back. My father was calling for help. Someone from the village brought herbs, but she stayed like that for hours. When she woke, she whispered something no one understood. Then she stopped eating, stopped speaking. And one night, she disappeared. No one knew where. The village searched, but found nothing. Some said she was cursed. Others said she ran away. But I think she was afraid. Afraid of what she made. Afraid of what she planted. Because after she left, strange things started happening in the village. Crops failing. Animals dying. People getting sick. The elders said the land was angry. That someone had disturbed the spirits. And I knew it was her. The woman who fed my brother to the ants. After Aleba disappeared, the village became restless. My father stopped speaking much. He stayed inside the house, drinking palm wine alone. He looked broken. I felt alone too. The baby Ada, Aleba's daughter, started crying at night. Not a soft baby cry, a loud, painful scream that shook the walls. I tried to comfort her, but she pushed me away. One night, I heard her talking in a voice that was not hers. She called my name. Eo. Eo. I ran to her room. She was lying down, eyes open but blank. Her small hands moved like she was casting a spell. I backed away. Then she screamed. I covered my ears. When I looked again, Ada was silent. The next day, the elders came to visit. They talked quietly with my father. Afterwards, my father told me we had to leave the village. He said the land was angry because of what happened. We packed our things and left the next morning. Before we left, I went to the tree where Aleba buried those things. The ground was cracked, dry. I dug a little. The bundles were gone. Only the smell of burning feathers and earth remained. As we walked away, I looked back. The tree's branches swayed, but there was no wind. It was like it was watching me. I never went back. Years later, I heard the village healed slowly. The crops grew again. Animals came back. People stopped falling sick. But my father never spoke of Aleba again. And I never told anyone what really happened. Because who would believe a child? Who would believe that a woman could be so wicked? And who would believe that sometimes evil hides behind a smile? Even after we left, I couldn't forget. I kept seeing Aleba's face in my dreams. Not angry or sad. Just calm. Empty. Sometimes, I woke up feeling cold, like someone was standing by my bed. I told my friends bits of the story, but they laughed. Wicked stepmother stories are old, they said. It's just your imagination. But I knew better. One day, years later, I got a call. It was my uncle from the village. He said something strange was happening again. Ada was missing. My father's house was quiet. No one had seen her. My uncle asked me to come back. I wanted to say no, but I had to see. When I returned, the village looked different. Cleaner. Happier. But there was a fear in the eyes of the people I met. They whispered about curses and old magic. I went to my father's house. He was weak, almost like a shadow. He told me Ada was taken by the forest. That at night, you could hear her screams. I asked, is it her mother? He nodded. She wants her daughter back, he said. We must stop it. The elders gathered. They said they needed to perform a cleansing ritual. To break the curse. I watched them. Fires lit, drums beat. Voices chanted in the dark. But I felt the power in the air. Something old. something angry. After the ritual, the village was quiet again. Ada came back. But she was not the same. She never smiled. Never played. Just stared. Sometimes, when she thought no one was watching, she whispered words no one understood. Words that made my skin crawl. And every time I looked at her, I remembered. The ants. The tree. The woman who smiled while breaking our family. Years passed. Ada grew, but her eyes stayed hollow. She never spoke much. When she did, it was always in riddles. One afternoon, I found her near the old tree, the one where Aleba buried those dark things. She was kneeling on the dry earth, hands pressed to the ground. I called her name. She looked up. Her eyes were blacker than before. She whispered, "The land remembers." I felt a chill. I asked, "What do you mean?" She smiled, but it wasn't warm. "It's her voice," she said softly. Aleba's voice lives in the roots. Suddenly, I understood. The curse was not over. Aleba had tied herself to the land with those bones and feathers. Her spirit was there, waiting for her chance. From that day, strange things happened again. At night, the village dogs howled. People said they saw a woman in bright wrappers walking through the fields. The crops withered. My father got sick. And Ada changed more. She became silent, watching, waiting. One night, I dreamed of Samuel again. He was near the anthill. He whispered, "Find the heart." I woke up sweating. I didn't know what it meant. But I knew I had to go back to the tree. I went back to the tree just before dawn. The ground was cold, the earth cracked and dry. I dug carefully, searching for something, the heart Samuel spoke of. After a while, my fingers touched something hard. A small stone, carved with strange marks. I held it tight. Suddenly, the air grew heavy. I heard a soft voice whispering my name. I dropped the stone. The ground shook. The tree's roots moved like fingers. I wanted to run but couldn't. The voice grew louder. It was Aleba's voice. It said, "You cannot escape what you started." I closed my eyes. When I opened them, I was alone. No one was there. I ran home. I showed the stone to the elders. They said it was a charm, the heart of the curse. They told me it had to be destroyed. The village gathered. We burned the charm in the fire pit. As it turned to ash, the wind howled. The tree's branches shook violently. Then, silence. The next morning, the sun was bright. The crops looked greener. Ada smiled for the first time in years. My father stood tall again. The village healed. But I never forgot. The evil that hides behind a smile. The curse that lives in the earth. And the stepmother who fed my brother to the ants.